All right, I know it's 2023, but we still have to do some wrapping up of stuff from 2022. I've got my top 10 movies from the year that was 2022. We're going to start with number 10, which was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I saw this actually over the holiday break with my daughter, and we both had a terrific time. That was actually her second time going to see the movie. She really wanted me to see it as well. I think she knew that I would dig it, and I did. And I think this movie owes a great big tip of the hat to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because the animation style for this DreamWorks film is incredible. It absolutely borrows from that sort of comic booky vibe that the Spider-Verse movies are doing, and I thought it was great. The story was good. Antonio Banderas is great, and Salma Hayek is great in this movie as well. Lots of really interesting character stuff. It plays with the fairy tales just like the Shrek movie does, but there's a lot of heart in this film, which deals with the fact that Puss in Boots has used up most of his 9 lives, and he has to make the most out of his last one. And I thought that was great, but what I like the most about it is that this was an animated feature that is really departing from that kind of Pixar formula in terms of visuals. I'm not knocking Pixar. They've made incredible movies, but there has been this kind of sameness around the CG animated work for several years, and then the Spider-Verse movie really shook things up. So I was really excited to see that this doesn't look like a Shrek movie, doesn't look like a lot of the Pixar Disney stuff out there. It's got its own style, and it has some fantastic action and just beautiful visuals and a cool story. So Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is number 10. Number 9 for me is Sam Raimi's take on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I know that this movie's been taking some knocks over the year. Maybe didn't live up to our hopes and our hype and our expectation, but I still thought it was an incredibly cool movie. It was very dark. It was kind of twisted. I thought Scarlet Witch by Elizabeth Olsen was terrific in this movie, and there was some great action and also glimpses of some cool Marvel universes, and maybe not the best use of some of the characters that we got to see in these multiverse glimpses, and some pretty cool cameos and shocking surprises when we first saw it, when it was first released in theaters. Of course, all of that has been spoiled and talked about endlessly, so if you haven't seen it, you probably know a little bit about what's already in store for you. But I thought it was stylistically very different from a lot of the MCU stuff. It definitely felt like a Sam Raimi movie. I really dug it. I had a really good time with the film when I saw it in theater, and then when I watched it again on Disney+, and I think it was one of the most solid entries from the MCU in 2022. That's why it's number 9 for me. Number 8 on my list is Avatar: The Way of Water, and I did have some problems with some of the storytelling in it. I thought it was a little bit straightforward, but I think it served the movie well internationally. James Cameron's kind of a genius with this. He doesn't have a crazy plot in Avatar or Titanic or Aliens. He knows how to connect with audiences everywhere with his pictures, and I think he's done it again with Avatar: The Way of Water. Of course, visually, it's absolutely outstanding. I mean, you are just completely floored by the mesmerizing visuals that James Cameron and his team have put together for us. I do want more from Avatar, but, the movie was definitely entertaining, and now I'm incredibly excited to see what happens next, because clearly this is a massive success, and we are going to be getting a lot more Avatar. Number 7 for me, and I did like this more than Avatar: The Way of Water. I tweeted about it. It's Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I happened to see it again. My daughter wanted to see this one too, so we went to see the movie on the big screen, and this was days after I'd seen Avatar, and upon further reflection, I think that there was a lot more to kind of sink my teeth into, pun intended, in Black Panther than Avatar for sure, and also more than I kind of gave Black Panther: Wakanda Forever credit for the first time that I saw it. There's a lot of details in here, and at the core of it, though, is just this emotional center where you really feel for the family, this family that's been devastated through the altruism of the Black Panther mantle. Angela Bassett is just incredible in this movie, and she has this really heavy monologue where she's talking about the fact that she's lost everything. It was really heartbreaking. The shots of T'Challa and the memories of Chadwick Boseman that permeate all the way through the film, but all of the performers, Letitia Wright, everybody was just so freaking good in this. Even the Riri Williams stuff, because we're introduced to Ironheart in this movie, which felt a little tacked on. When I saw it again, I could almost feel Ryan Coogler in the edit suite kind of putting all of this stuff together. He had to deal with a lot, and it made much more sense the second time that I saw it. Didn't feel as tacked on and superfluous. It does kind of obviously set up more in the MCU, but it was handled all right. What was handled really, really well in this movie is Namor. His kingdom was just incredible, and the power of the character and the intensity of the character and his desires to kind of remain hidden hidden from the surface world. All of that stuff was incredibly powerful. The movie itself is incredibly powerful. It's not as good as the first Black Panther because that had the element of surprise and wonder, and Chadwick Boseman was surely missed and is surely missed in the MCU. But Black Panther Wakanda Forever was a terrific film, and it's number 7 on my list. Coming in at number 6 for me is Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, starring the phenomenal Austin Butler. And I have to say, as beautiful as the movie was, because Baz Luhrmann movies are always lush with lots of mixed media and cool visual effects and layers of film, and they just always look incredible, but it's really Austin Butler as Elvis Presley that takes your freaking breath away. The guy is so talented. He's like electricity up on stage, and you can feel it from the extras in the audience that are freaking out every time he performs. All of that stuff was handled so well. The first half of Elvis is just like, wow, man, we are on this huge ride. And of course it gets darker and bleaker and a little bit more complicated. It still ends up becoming this kind of hero worship film, but Elvis Presley as a person was a pretty incredible character. And I think this movie does the mythology of Elvis Presley justice, and more than that, it's just a crazy fun musical to watch with lots of great music, a lot of Elvis music, but also stuff that Baz Luhrmann was influenced by and also puts into the soundtrack. All of these different elements that are interwoven together are very impressive. Elvis was a blast to watch. That's why it's number 6 for me. All right, we're in the top 5 of 2022, and number 5 for me is The Banshees of Sharon, starring Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell and Carrie Condon and an eclectic cast of supporting actors. This is a really cool movie, and it's very different from everything else on my list. It's not a big action-packed picture. There isn't the huge musical numbers and lots of insane visual effects. It's really a character study about these two guys that are at the end of their relationship and trying to grapple with that. And it becomes this psychological examination of the deterioration of this friendship and this relationship. And it's got a comedic shine across it, but there's some really heavy, heartfelt, dramatic elements in this movie as well, and some shocks and some surprises. The core of it and the root of it is just this incredible work from these performers. They're so freaking good, and the script is tight, and the location of this movie, this coastal town in Ireland, is absolutely breathtaking as well. This is a wonderful movie that you're never going to forget, and of course it's a smaller picture, so it maybe hasn't received the amount of audience attention that it deserves, so search this one out, all right? The Banshees of Sharon is incredible. Another indie movie that took my breath away is Everything Everywhere All at Once, starring Michelle Yeoh, the phenomenal and incredibly dependable Michelle Yeoh. Anything she's in is good, which is amazing. She makes everything better, and Ke Huy Quan is in this movie, and together they're a husband and wife that go through some real stuff in this multiverse movie that has about 1/100th the budget of the Doctor Strange multiverse movie, but still incredibly effective. This is a duo called the Daniels that directed this film, and they have all kinds of different setups and different cuts and edits between all of these different realities for this couple and this family, and it's so well made and so heartfelt. I was not expecting to be as emotionally impacted by this film as I was, and credit to the screenwriting, but especially to the performers and the beautiful nuance. It was just incredible to see Ke Huy Quan on screen again. I loved him as Short Round so many years ago, and of course he's in The Goonies. He's fantastic on screen. He's just fantastic. But also Jamie Lee Curtis is in the movie, and the legendary James Hong is in this one as well. It's a marvelous picture, and I dare you not to be entertained and also blown away and impressed by the commitment, man, from everybody at every level to make something incredibly special and unforgettable. Everything Everywhere All at Once is number 4 on my list. All right, now we're getting to the good stuff. Number 3 on my list is Robert Eggers' The Northman, starring Alexander Skarsgård. Anya Taylor-Joy is in this, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Bjork, Willem Dafoe. It's got a great cast, and it's such a cool film. It's definitely a much more straightforward movie than we have come to expect from Robert Eggers. He did The Lighthouse, which is cool but weird. He did The Witch, which was also cool and weird. This one is cool and a little less weird, although there are definitely some interesting, trippy, psychedelic moments dealing with Norse mythology. Essentially what we're getting here is a Norse warrior that is on a massive revenge tale after family members have been killed, and he goes on this long journey to kind of find his strength and his power, but he never forgets his mission. And Skarsgård is just insane. I mean, he's like a lithe Conan. Like, he is just this fierce warrior who just looks, he's like shirtless and ferocious, and nobody looks like they could stand toe-to-toe to him. And he's just completely terrifying. And he goes on the warpath to go and hunt down the people that wronged him, but there's also kind of a stealthy, sneaking into the enemy camp kind of vibe to the movie as well, which gives all kinds of interesting layers and weird dream sequences. And man, it's beautiful as well. It's shot all on location. It looks like people went through real physical hell to put this together, but it's again one of these pictures that you'll never forget after you see it. The Northman is incredible. It's number 3 on my list. Number 2 is a movie that I thought would never work, at least this well, but it's Top Gun Maverick. You never bet against Tom Cruise. He's terrific as Maverick in this thing, and of course we've got a lot of other great supporting cast members. Jennifer Connelly is terrific. John Hamm is a scumbag and just never believes in Maverick and gets proven wrong. We even get a really cool moment with Val Kilmer in this movie. And yes, the movie is loaded with all kinds of nostalgia and it really tugs at your heartstrings, but there's just a purity to the way that it was made. He's got all of these young recruits, and the relationship between Tom Cruise's Maverick and Miles Teller's Rooster is just rife with all of these valid emotional intricacies that take you back to the 80s. And what's cool about this movie is that it's much better than the original Top Gun is, especially now. But the lens that we see Top Gun through this movie makes that movie, because it was a cultural phenomenon, it just makes it much more powerful. Because this movie was made with a lot more emotional intelligence and a lot more sophistication, and obviously a real commitment to kind of make the picture thrilling and exciting and exhilarating. And even though it's exactly what is promised, you know, an edge of your seat kind of thriller where we're in the cockpit with all the actors, it just feels like it was crafted with such perfect precision. And Joseph Kosinski, who is the director of this movie, he's got kind of that in his background. He did Oblivion, he did Tron Legacy. The guy is all about sharp angles and perfect symmetry, it feels like, in his framing and the way that he shoots all the stuff. So it's a really interesting pairing with Tom Cruise, this sniper of an actor, this laser-focused sniper of an actor, and then this really precision-oriented filmmaker in Joseph Kosinski. And what we end up with is a movie that doesn't really have any rough edges. It's unbelievably entertaining. It satisfies all of the nostalgic kind of desires for the superfans of the original Top Gun, and then it elevates with great performances, and it clearly was just something that registered and became a massive success for the entire planet. It's a huge, huge hit, and it deserved to be. It's a great movie. Top Gun Maverick, number 2 on my list. And that leaves just one more, and that's Matt Reeves, the Batman. I think you probably could have guessed this. Colin Farrell is back in this movie as the Penguin, and he's incredible. And every time I've watched this movie, I've just been gobsmacked at just the quality of his performance. Is just so freaking good.
I got you! I got you!
But Robert Pattinson makes a solid Bruce Wayne. He makes an imposing Batman. That was something that I was a little bit worried about. I was expecting there to be too much, you know, vampire baggage with this actor, but he's really solid. I like this kind of attitude, this kind of Kurt Cobain attitude. He's really messed up in the head, and I dig that. We're early in Batman's career. He's really trying to figure out if what he does has value, and I thought it was a really solid interpretation of the character. I love the Gotham City that they created. Zoe Kravitz is a very solid Catwoman. She'll never replace Michelle Pfeiffer in my heart, but she was very solid. And I really like Paul Dano's Riddler, which was incredibly creepy. But, you know, more than anything, it was mood, it was style, it was creepy corners that we saw of Gotham City, and the down-to-earth, definitely Christopher Nolan inspired or esque kind of qualities of the Batman and the myth of the Batman. Very grounded, very realistic, but so artfully done. I came to love the Batmobile, even though it's not my favorite. I still prefer the Tumbler. My favorite Batmobile is still the Arkham Knight Batmobile, but I did dig this kind of muscle car Batmobile that they have in the Batman. But it was well-crafted storytelling, and I think ultimately probably my favorite part in this whole film and this whole endeavor, and it rests so much on believing in this character, is Jeffrey Wright's James Gordon, who is terrific in this picture. All all of the Gotham PD, you believed them. You know, they were really pissed off at the Batman, and you could hear them. And there's some really exciting sequences in there and some beautifully framed shots. I love the shots where everything's all in red, and the flooding sequence that happens at the end of the picture as well. Man, it's an amazing movie, and it definitely holds up for repeat viewings, especially for Batmaniacs like myself. That's why The Batman is number 1 on my list. So that's my list. I know there's going to be some controversial takes in there for you guys. I know you're going to have a completely different set of your top 10. I want to see them. You know where to post them. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon with some brand new content for you. In the meantime, I want you to do one thing, and that is play forever.